So there's this, if you know there's a story of the Bible I want to share with you from the book of Zechariah. So Zechariah was a prophet that was around whenever the temple was being rebuilt and Jerusalem was being rebuilt. And he received a word from the Lord for Zerubbabel. I love that name, Zerubbabel. It's a hard name. But Zerubbabel, he was the high priest at the time. And God had called him to get the temple being built. And they kept having problems. Outside people came in. The people around them did not want to see Jerusalem rebuilt. They didn't want to see the temple being rebuilt for certain. And maybe you're in one of those situations where it feels like everything in the world is moving against you, and you can't do this thing that God has for you. It could be something even personal. Like if I have to be honest, which I guess I should be honest, you know, it's not just about things God wants me to do. It's also the way God wants me to give my life to Him, to trust Him with sins. I mean, if you're like me, you have fears and you want to solve it on your own, and that never works out well, even though I try over and over and over again. It's really whenever I give those fears back to the Lord, He makes them right. And Zerubbabel was in one of those places. The whole nation was in one of those places. And we've been in some of those places before. And so the ministry things that we're going to share with you this morning, these are our ministry. It's not me and Anna. This is something all of us share. You know that you rehabilitated me. I was in a really tough spot. God used this church, used Corey, used you all to really help me capture what God had for us. And so the word of the Lord came to Zerubbabel. It says the word of the Lord came to Zechariah in chapter 4, verse 8 in Zechariah. In verse 9 he says, "The hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this temple. His hands will also complete it. Then you will know that the Lord Almighty has sent me to you." Now, I don't know if you have one of these cornerstone type kind of things happening that God has just said, okay, get something started, and you've started. And maybe you're waiting for a moment like that. But don't give up. Don't give up on it. What we want to share with you is a story really of not giving up. A story of how God is making a promise like this, where God made a promise that we need to go and do something, and we're building it. We're not, God is. And it's also a story of Corey Zion. You know, everything that's going on is a part of what we share together. So I'm going to turn it over to Anna and let her talk about what's going on with the kids. There's amazing stuff happening, and she's going to share that with you. And then I'll be back later. Do you want this microphone?
And you can put it on the stand if you prefer.
Okay, good morning. So, is this on? Am I on? Yeah? Okay. So I hope everybody got one of these cards when you came in. If you didn't, just raise your hand. Samuel will be happy to get up and go find one. But on the back are ways that you can contact and keep in touch with us, either on Facebook or email. Our website's on there. And then I'm going to just send this around. If you don't get our newsletter, I just want you to put your name and email here so that you keep up with what we're doing and where we're at. You can do it through our website, but if you put your name and email here, I'll do it for you, and then you don't have to do the work. So, okay, so as Jared said, the things that we're doing right now are kind of the dream that God had in my heart for a long time. And when we went to Ghana, I didn't have any idea that I would do anything other than homeschool the kids. But after a few years, there was just this restlessness in me to get outside of my house, to get to know people, to learn a foreign language, to learn how to live in a foreign culture. And as he started to draw me out of my house and meet different people, he started to put this dream and make it more specific in my mind and in my heart. And there was just a lot of, I don't know, I just had to take a step of faith, not knowing really where it's going. And even today, I can't tell you where we're going to land, but I'm going to tell you how far we've gotten. So Aiden's not in this picture, but we've got Benin with the beard, Cecily, Samuel in the back by Jared, and Nathaniel, and Abby, and me. And then here's Aiden and his fiancée Delaney. They're getting married in August. And she just graduated from college last month. And Aiden's working at Taylor University, where he was going to school. He's working in their media department full-time. I saw him a couple weeks ago. He's got his own office and nameplate and everything. I said, buddy, you're like official. So we're really proud of him. So the organization that Benin is starting lineman school in September. It's in Tennessee, so he'll have about 3 months there, and then he'll get a apprenticeship to keep learning lineman work on the High Line. So we're proud of both boys. Cecily graduated from high school this year, and the poor girl doesn't know what she wants to do, but she's going to go to Ivy Tech and at least get some general classes out of the way and get a job. And so, all right, so the organization that we've started in Ghana is called Developing Kids Ghana, and we work with children. Our mission is to promote English literacy and cultural appreciation among children in rural communities, building a stable future for the next generation. And our vision is to develop children into future leaders who will invest their values, their culture, and their vocation back into their local communities. It's the same thing as you probably see here in Corey. Our young kids grow up, and what do? They leave. And they move to Indianapolis or, Terre Haute. They want a bigger city. And the same thing happens in Ghana. But a lot of our small communities, like here, they don't have their own schools, their own hospitals, their own clinics. So we want to encourage kids to come back to their communities and invest in that. So one of the things that we have done is built a library. The church here has donated books a few years ago. You guys sent over some barrels of books, and we were happy to get those. Just recently, a school was built right next to the library. So these are kids coming to line up at the library. They come every week for story time, every class. And when they come in, everyone takes their shoes off outside the door. So after story hour, you got to match up 40 pairs of shoes with 40 little kids and send them back. So we have added some staff members to the library work. On the far right is Susanna. She's our librarian Monday through Friday. And next to her is Imbe Baba. Imbe Baba means my older brother Baba. And so everyone just refers to him as their older brother Baba. And later I will explain to you how he came to be a staff member. It's a pretty, just one of those God things that I wasn't looking for. But he's our operations manager and will do some field work for us. And then I'm there in the middle, and next to me is Moses, and he co-directs with me and really started the organization with me. Jared does a lot of work in Ghana. He has some business things. We have church planters who he works with and consults with on a regular basis. And he is on our board of advisors for the organization. But on a daily basis, he's got his office at home. He keeps an eye on the kids and their schooling. Abby cooks for Dad, yeah. So we've done a little role reversal that he gets to stay home and be with the kids, and I'm out a lot of days, but it works fine, and we're both doing what we feel called to do. So let's see. So education in northern Ghana is really underfunded and mismanaged. Teachers could be posted to a school and will never show up to teach at that school, but they're on payroll. So their students come to school every day and they play and they go home. Susanna, who you saw, our librarian, her husband teaches 5th grade. He has 93 students in his class. So you can imagine not a lot of teaching takes place when you have 93 students. It's just wall-to-wall students. So in Ghana, it's just, school is not a priority. And English is the official language, but very few people speak or read it really well. And without a good English base, you can't really succeed in school, and you have trouble getting a job later on. So these are just a few facts that UNICEF did a study in 2020. 23 to 47% of rural and poor students complete junior high school. The rest either don't make it that far or they drop out. 71% of wealthy children complete senior high school, while only 9% of poor children complete senior high school. So making that jump to junior high to senior high is a really big step that a lot of kids, they can't do it. It's too much of a financial burden on their families. And only about 12% of 15 to 24-year-olds have foundational computer skills, which honestly are just as essential in Ghana as they are in America today. You know, we skipped the whole era to have a phone plugged into the wall. Everyone has a cell phone, but very few people have their own computer. But if you get a job, you need to have computer skills. And so it's pretty sketchy. It's a challenge. So at the library, we have, I will say, thousands of books. And we have kids that come in every day after school. When they're on breaks, they come in, they spend hours at the library reading. We have reading clubs. So in Ghana, about 7 to 8% of third graders can read and do math at grade level. The rest are below grade level. And by that first year of junior high school, about 52% of students read at a third grade level, and 31% do math at a third grade level. So they are so far behind where, you know, we think they should be. And usually those, if you're at that level in junior high school, that's you quit going to school. You realize I can't make it. So this is one of the reasons that we're involved in literacy. This is one of the reasons it's so important. In order to grow healthy churches, you need people who can read their Bible. You need people who can teach a Bible study. You need people who have jobs who can financially support your churches. And without the basic skills of reading and math and computer skills, you can't get a paying job. As a day laborer, you make about $3-4 a day. So all you can manage to do is feed your family. You can't even afford to send your kids to school. And so we need to build up the church by building up children and young people who can get a job and are educated. Jared will talk about Pastor Zach a little bit more later, but this is a group of young Muslim men who came to Pastor Zach, who's one of the church planters that we work with and support. They came to Pastor Zach and said, we've looked around our community and we don't see any men who can really lead us and help us find our way in life. Would you be that person to us? 25 Muslim young men came to a Christian pastor and asked that question. And he said, absolutely. So they come to his house every Monday night. They wait till it's dark. They don't want everyone in the community knowing they're going to the pastor's house. They come and they talk. And one of the things that all these young men said is, we can't get into school. We've dropped out at early ages. We can't get jobs. We need better English skills. So Moses and I went out a couple months ago and met with some of the guys and talked about starting English classes with them so that they can improve their reading and writing skills. And since that time, we've put 3 or 4 of the boys into a technical school to learn carpentry. In our community, we were able to open that door for them. So these are some of the opportunities. Everybody needs these skills. And so it's a great way for us to interact with non-Christians, with the Muslim population, to say we want to help you in life, and in that we are showing them the love of Jesus and just getting in and having relationships. So there's a lot of kids in Ghana who just straight up don't go to school. We have nationwide 283,000 elementary age children, 135,000 junior high students, and 610,000 senior high students, which is over 1 million children between 6 and 18 who are not in school. And a lot of those children are in the rural areas. Their parents are also uneducated. They just don't think it's important to send their kids to school. And they don't really want to spend the money on a uniform and, notebooks and a desk, whatever they have to do. So we have about 18 million children in the country. So 1 million is 1 in 18 kids not in school. So this is Moses, again, who is the co-director of Developing Kids Ghana. And I want to tell you a little bit about his life. He grew up in a Muslim family. He's the 5th of 9 children. And he was the first one in his family sent to school. He has 2 older brothers, and when he was going to school, they tried to convince their father to also let the next older brother go. And the father finally said, no, I can't leave all the farming work to the senior brother. 2 of them at least have to farm. So Moses was sent to school, and his older 2 brothers are uneducated. They still farm today to help support the family. So he went to a Catholic primary school around his community. That was the only school available. And every day the sisters, the nuns, would have Mass, and they would teach the kids about God. And he became a Christian. And the church in the community where we're working, the biggest church is a Catholic church. And most of the people, Moses' age and younger, this is their story. Their parents are Muslims. They came to know the Lord through going to a Christian school, and now they're raising their children as Christians. And it's really neat to see, because one of the unique things about this community is that Moses still lives with his parents. Traditionally, boys stay with their parents until their parents die. They all live in the same house. It's a big compound house. So Moses has 2 rooms, one for him, one for his wife and the kids, and his brothers have rooms for their wife and children. And so there's 3 or 4 generations of people living in this house, but both of his parents are still there. The parents are Muslims. His younger brother is a Muslim, and his sisters, now the sisters live with their husbands' families, but they live very peaceably together. They all celebrate each other's holidays, and everybody celebrates Christmas together, and everybody celebrates the Muslim holidays together. So they found a way to love and respect one another, which is unique and really a special thing, because in a lot of places it doesn't happen that way. In a lot of places, if you become a Christian, you get kicked out of your house, and your family won't have anything to do with you. So Moses went through junior high, high school. He said when he went into high school, he remembers coming home from school one day. His dad picked him up and rode him on his bicycle into town, and his dad sold some chickens so that he could buy Moses a uniform to start senior high school. And that was the only contribution his dad made, but he was really thankful for that contribution. And after that, he started working after school to put himself through school. So he's now a teacher. He teaches Dagbani, which is our local language, and he also teaches English at a local junior high school. So his story really explains how education impacts the church. When Muslim children are exposed to Christ as children in school. They learn about God every day. When they grow older, you remember those things. You listen to your teachers at school. You believe everything they tell you. And in most of our schools, Christian schools are more dependable. The teachers are paid by the school, not by the government, so they're more dependable. They come to school, they come to work every day, which is unique. And those kids learn to read earlier, they learn to speak English earlier. There's a huge difference between kids in private Christian schools and those in government schools. So this is a Christian school that I visited a few months ago. We met the pastor through Pastor Zach. Pastor Zach is trained as a lay dentist, and the pastor at this church school was also trained as a lay dentist, and he said, "Mama, I want you to come and visit my school sometime." So we found a chance, and Moses and I and Mbe Baba, and were you with us? And Abigail. You were hiding. Abby's not in the picture. We went out and visited this school. Now, this community is called Kafaba, and about 3 months ago, a woman in this community was suspected to be a witch, and they lynched her. So these things really still happen in the world today, and it is a testimony of how much this community needs Jesus. This is the Christian school. They have about 220 students. They're all in uniform. They have about 6 teachers. I would say the inside of their building is about as big as this room, and within this room they have preschool, kindergarten, and grades 1 through 6. And what happens is every class faces the wall and has a chalkboard, and every teacher teaches 2 classes, and they're all in one big room, and they learn all day long. And we went to see the chief of this village, and he said, go to this school and then go to our government school and see the difference. And they are doing amazing things at this school with these children. One of the things that we want to partner with this school is to help build them a school so that they can spread out a little bit more. And so we're hoping to build them a 3-room block. It'll cost about $30,000, and it'll really help them to spread out a little bit. Their junior high students meet in a grass mat hut outside. So, yeah, this was a neat school to go and visit. So some of the programs that we are running is that we have the library, and we will soon have a computer lab. We have the space, but not the computers. We're looking for, donated laptops and things like that while we're here to hopefully go back and get that set up. We have reading clubs in rural junior high schools. We're in 9 schools right now, and next in 2023 we'll add 4 or 5 new schools. We have remedial English and reading classes for young adults. That would be with Pastor Zach's group. We have a scholarship program to help Christian students get into senior high school. Just pay the school fees and, get through college. College isn't really that expensive over there. For $200, $300, you can pay your school fees for the year, but they just can't come up with the money. So Jared and I don't have 6 children in Ghana. We have about 20 children who every year when school fees come due, they call us and say, Mom, Dad, we need help paying our school fees. And then we have various benevolent projects to assist needy schools. Anybody who hears that we're into education, they always hit us up. So these are some of our reading club teachers. We do reading club competitions twice a year with our reading clubs, and then we give the schools prizes. Teacher textbooks, which most teachers don't even have books to teach from. Maps of Ghana, student textbooks, things like that, just so that the schools are equipped. We meet with the students in all of our schools on a regular basis, just talking to them about how important it is that they stay in school. And if they have a problem staying in school, they need to reach out to a teacher to, they need to really work hard. A lot of the kids in this picture have their own farms. The boys especially, they have their own farms. And through selling, they grow yam, which is a big potato, basically. It's about this big, and it's one of our main food sources over there. They put themselves through school. Their parents will not pay for them to go to school. And so a lot of these kids, they're working to stay in school. So we just like to encourage them and keep talking to them about stay in school. And the boys and the girls should just keep their distance until they're out of school, because teenage pregnancy is a big issue, especially in the rural areas. This is story hour at the library. Like I said, we have 8 classes now that come to the library every week for story hour. Class size starts at 40 children for kindergarten, first grade. So the classes are big for one teacher. They don't have assistants. And it's always, we read stories. We try to do hands-on activities with them. It's always hard to do hands-on activities with 40 children who seem really confused about what you're supposed to be doing. We donate desks to needy schools. This picture of the kids on the benches, that's typical in our rural schools. The government could come and build you a beautiful big building and not give you a single desk to put inside. And the people just are like, well, we don't have the money. So one of our schools, we built 15 dual desks, so 30 students could sit at desks, and donated those. So these are all projects that you have helped us to fund. So our library, these are our main library shelves for kids. We have another few shelves for adults. But we're among one of the very first community libraries in all of northern Ghana. And our city has about 1 million people, but all of northern Ghana will be, maybe 10 million people? Yeah, community libraries are just very rare. The computer lab is going to be a way for us to teach typing, computer skills. It can serve as an internet cafe for people. For instance, when students take their exit exams from junior high and senior high, if you want to know your results, you have to go and pay somebody at an internet cafe to look it up online for you and print off your results. So that's just a service that, we can provide kids in our community once we're up and running. So, let's see. So these are first grade students. We were doing classes for a while, just trying to, this was during COVID, or slightly, I think just after COVID. Was it before? It was during COVID, yeah, keeping the kids kind of learning and going. They don't do hands-on activities at school. If you have to bring something to count with, the kids will go around the community picking up bottle caps, and they'll bring their handfuls of bottle caps to use as their counters in school, sometimes rocks. And so when we have, little bears or counting things, they are so interested in that. So the city that we live in, our big city, is Tamale. Not Tamale, but Tamale. And then the village we are in is just a suburb, basically, and it's called Tampe Kukuo. But the majority of the people in our area are Muslims. About maybe 95% are Muslims. The Dagomba people are the tribe that live there. We are the fastest growing city in West Africa. Things are just shooting up. But one of the interesting things, though we are growing, it's housing that we are building. It's not factories, it's not businesses, it's predominantly housing. So while we're getting more people in the city, there are not more jobs available in the city. And we're on the south side of the 1040 window. So the 1040 window is something that people in missions identified a few decades ago. If you look on a map and you're at 10 latitude, 40 longitude, that band around our globe is where most unreached people in the world live. So you're going across Europe, Northern Africa, across Asia, China, Russia. That's where most unreached people in the world live. And we're at like 9.5 of latitude. So we're right around that area. And life expectancy in Ghana for men is about 65 and 70 for women. We don't have the medical services that people have here. So typically when people get sick, they just die. Hepatitis B is really common. We see a lot of people die from Hep B. We see a lot of people die from cancers. Doctors have told us it's really hard when you see a cancer patient. You don't even tell them that there's treatment because you know their family would want to pay the money for cancer treatment, and there's no way that they have the money for it. So they typically don't even tell them that there are options because financially it's not an option. So life is difficult for people. These three little guys come to the library often. I want to tell you about this little guy on the right with no shirt on. His name is Lukuman, and he was living out in a village with his mother, and he was a malnourished child. He wasn't growing. In this picture, he was about 10 years old, but he's much smaller than Abby is. And so he came to Tampe Kukuo and lived with his grandmother. And he just started school this year as a first grader. He's 11 years old. He doesn't have very good English. He's really ornery, probably because he's 11, just starting school. But we're really excited that he's in school. And he is now getting healthy meals, and he will probably never get back on a proper growth curve because he was so malnourished as a young child. But we pray that he will continue to grow, to know the Lord, and to grow a healthy body and in school, everything. So here's another picture of our staff. Susanna, our librarian, at her desk. When we hired Susanna, I didn't know her, and I was sitting with our board of trustees, and they were throwing names around, and they said, "Oh, Susanna, I'll call her husband. I don't think she's doing anything." So they called her husband, said, "Is your wife available to work?" And he said, "Yeah, she's not busy." And I thought, we haven't even interviewed her. I've never even met her, and we've just hired her to be our secretary or our librarian. And the Lord always knows what he's doing. Susanna is the exact perfect person to be our librarian. She knows every kid in the community, and she bosses them around like a good mother would, making sure when the kids come in, they're quiet, they're respectful, they're doing something purposeful. So I'm really thankful for her. And then here's Mbe Baba and Moses, Uncle Moses. In Ghana, as a child, you don't ever greet someone with their first name, at least an adult. You would always say uncle or auntie or mama or daddy. So this is Uncle Moses and Mbe Baba. And I'm going to tell you about Mbe Baba, but not yet. So here's our chief in Tampe Kukuo. He's very supportive of the work that we do. When a few years ago, Moses and I went to the chief's palace to tell him we would like some land to build the library, and he said, "Our community has been praying for 20 years for this type of opportunity." And he was so excited that we had come. He wasn't the chief 20 years ago. That chief actually died a few years ago. But he was one of the elders, and he said, "We have been hoping for this for so long." And so there's really a wide open door for us to work there. The chief is a Muslim, but he's very supportive. So a few months ago, another missionary in our area was preparing to come back to the United States to sort of reconsider how he engages in ministry in Ghana. He was a soccer coach. And the community at, the whole thing happened really neat. He was living in the community where many of our reading clubs are located. So when Moses and I would go out to visit our reading clubs, we would stay with JD and his wife Stephanie, because they had kind of a compound. So there was space for us there. So during our interactions, Moses got to know that JD was a coach, and JD got to know that we had a soccer club. So when the time came for JD to leave, Moses said, we really want to ask JD to come and coach our club. And I said, well, he's going back to the United States. Write him a letter and just invite him to come meet your club. You don't know what God will do. So the soccer management team got together and wrote him a letter, and JD said, sure, I will come and meet your club. So he did. He came, and we had a day where he came out and saw the club. We have players who are 10 and under, all the way up to a Division II team, so those guys are adults. We have boys teams and girls teams, and about 150 kids in all who are involved. So, like I said, JD was coming back to the U.S., so he said to Jared and I, would you kind of keep an eye on things? Because I'm not going to be here, and honestly, I don't know this club or this community very well. I just met them. So we said, yes, we'll get involved and get to know everyone. So Imbe Baba is one of our soccer management members. He's the spokesman. He loves talking, but when you meet him, he'll say, I don't like talking. He and Abigail are best friends because neither one of them like talking. But there's a lot of noise when they get together. So I started going to the management soccer meetings because I was out in the community most days when they would have meetings. And very quickly, I found out that they didn't have a way to get the boys to their matches. And we happened to have a 10-passenger van. Now, I'm telling you, you can fit more African boys into a van than you can fit Chinese people into a taxi. So we can fit about 15, 16 big guys into our 10-passenger van. And so I started driving our Division II teams to their matches, midweek and weekend games. I've been to so many soccer games in the last 5 months. And when we started, I didn't know anything about soccer. My boys never played soccer. It's not a sport that I would watch on TV. But I thought, you know what? I'm just going to say yes. It's really outside my ministry area. It doesn't have anything to do with the library or education. But we are pro-community. So anything that's going on in the community that is a good, healthy activity, we want to support it. And this is a great thing. So through my interaction with the soccer club, I got to know Imbe Baba. And the last time we traveled out to reading clubs, he said, I want to go with you and see what this reading club thing is all about. So Moses and I said, yeah, absolutely, come along. So on that trip, Imbe Baba and Abby joined us. And he is an extrovert, the life of the party. And when we came back from our trip, he said, the reason I needed to go is because I was coming back to the United States, and he didn't want Moses to be left kind of on his own running things. So he said, I need to be there to support him and to help him with the work while you're gone. Now, that's just special. It's not too often that you run into people who say, I see there's going to be a gap in your ministry work, and I'm just going to step in and help you out. And come to find out, Imbe Baba has been a school teacher, a head teacher. He now works in the administration side of education. He's worked on grant projects in communities. He's done community development. He knows more about running an organization than I do. And so he is a blessing to our ministry in so many ways. But if I had not said yes to being involved in soccer, it never would have happened. I wouldn't have gotten to know him. The whole thing wouldn't have happened the way it did. So I just want to challenge you to say yes to open doors, even if you feel ill-equipped, unprepared, and unqualified to meet needs in that area of life or ministry. You don't know what God might do, and you don't know how he might be waiting to bless you through you just saying yes. And a real bonus for me is that now we have an open door to all these kids who play soccer. I'm going to be inviting them into the library. I'm going to get them into our reading clubs. A lot of these guys play soccer because they dropped out of school and they honestly think they're going to go pro. And we all know how many kids actually go pro playing a sport. So I know that's probably not the end destination for them. They need an education so they can get a job. And now I'm the soccer mom. We are the only team in all of Tomley that has a woman who is involved in the club. It's a man-dominated thing. I mean, there are no women at the games. There's no other club that has a woman on their management team. And so I now have 40 young guys who call me mama and are so excited when I'm at their games cheering them on. So our football club is called Gandu, and that means number one among equals. And we are one of the only community clubs. I mean, football is a big thing. Soccer, we call it football. You call it soccer. Football is a big thing there. So a lot of people buy a club, but the boys come from all different areas. But most of our boys are from our community or a neighboring community. And one of the things JD told the club when he came in is, we are going to develop the whole person. We are not just interested in their sports skills. We want to develop the whole person. And he told them, we are going to play soccer for Christ. Now, all of our coaches are Muslims. All but 3 of our players are Muslims. A few months ago, our head coach sent out a message, a WhatsApp audio message to all the players, and he said, we are playing soccer for Christ. And he said, so I expect you to have, you know, certain types of behavior on and off the field. We are number one among equals. We will do things better, and we will have higher morals and higher ethics because we are playing soccer for Christ. And I thought, hey, you tell him, coach. He may not realize what he is saying because he is a very devout Muslim, but that's okay. We are making some inroads. So this is our head coach on the far left, Coach YC, and that's me in the middle, and then one of our Small, we call him Small, he's a driver. And the next guy is Jasko. He's the one who has 93 students in his 5th grade class. And then we have Anthony, he's on our management team, and then Moses. This is about half of our management club. One of the things JD did was to pay for us to build a new football pitch in the community. They only had one pitch, and all of our teams were sharing it, so he just built a new one, and that was pretty exciting. One of the other really special things that we've been able to do in the last couple years is to meet some critical needs through reading club involvement. One of our schools, we had 18 boys who were victims of sodomy. Their social studies teacher had been abusing them for a number of years. And when the boys finally started talking about it, the police very quickly got involved. They came out and arrested the teacher, which was lucky for the teacher. Had the community got to him first, he probably wouldn't have survived. The police came out and arrested him. And the police said basically to all the parents, try and get your kids to Tomley for medical checkups and, see if he gave them any diseases or if there was, what's wrong with them. Well, Tomley is about a 4-hour drive, and those parents didn't have the money or the know-how to make that happen. So after about a week, Moses and I said, let's get involved. So we had to go out to the prison where this teacher was being held and talked to the police chief. We saw the teacher while he was there. They have 2 cells, and he was in one of them. We talked to the police chief and said, can we get involved? We'll pay to bring the boys to town, and we'll pay for their medical checkups. And he said, absolutely, I'll send a detective with you, because we need this for our case against the teacher, but the government doesn't pay. The police don't pay for these types of things over there. So if you are unfortunate enough to need medical checks because of a police case, you're responsible. So we brought in the boys. These are some of the parents and community members that came with them. We spent 2 days getting them through the hospital with medical checks and blood work. And we don't believe the teacher gave them any diseases. They were checked for Hep B and AIDS. But we were also then able to go back with Christian counselors to go back in and help these boys and their whole community. A lot of their parents wanted to send them away, like down to Accra, down to another city. They just thought, the shame is too much. Let's get the boys out of town. And that would have meant no more schooling. Can you imagine being 13, 14? Our youngest boy was 11 or 12. And just being sent away to another city to live by yourself and survive because your parents are too ashamed to have you still living in the community. So through our intervention with counseling, the parents agreed to keep the boys in the community, to keep the boys in school. We've been back a couple times with the counselors. And so I know why the Lord has us there. This would have been a completely different situation for this school and this community if we had not stepped in and intervened when we did, because they just didn't have any idea how to deal with it. These are some of our Ghanaian children. So on the far left in the yellow shirt is Lizzie and her little girl Anna. Lizzie came to live with us about 3 years ago. She was in senior high school and got pregnant and knew she couldn't go home. Her father was violently upset about the pregnancy. So Lizzie came and stayed with us. She finished senior high school. She had the baby just after COVID hit and all the hospitals were shut down. We couldn't even, they were like, nope, the midwives aren't even coming to work. And so we had quite a time when Anna was born. And they were with us for about 6 months, and then Lizzie was able to go home. Her father had kind of chilled out, and now that the baby was there, he was very happy to have them back. And then Lizzie was sent to her boyfriend's family because actually they're financially responsible. So she went and lived with them for about 1.5 years until Anna was old enough to be put in school. So they came back to live with us just in January. Lizzie called and said, Mom, I want to come to Tomley and get a job. And I said, well, you've just graduated from high school. It's hard to get a job. What can you do? I said, let's get you more schooling. So Lizzie's been enrolled in sewing school. She has a sewing madame teaching her how to sew, and Anna's in school. So they lived with us until about a week before we came back, and we got them their own room just down the road from our house. So next to her is Vida, and Vida lived with us for a while also as she was trying to get through school. Vida's mother is a widow, and she had 5 children. The oldest one was killed in a tragic car accident when she was in junior high school. So the boy behind Vida is Victor. He's the oldest brother, and then Vida, and then Vivian is next to Vida. And then there's another sister. And so we've helped Grace's family a lot, helping the kids through school because she's a widow. She works in our home. She cooks for our dinner every night. I love her. She cleans our house and cooks. And so the Lord put us together. She needed help getting her kids through school. And she works really hard. And Her brother recently died of hepatitis B, so she's taken in his 2 sons that now live with her, and she pays to put them through school. So we've been able to help their family quite a bit. And then on the end is Emifa, who is engaged to be married to Victor, and this is Vida's baby. Well, we call him Junior, but his name's Brian. And Vida also found herself pregnant in high school, and she gave birth to the baby. She did finally finish. It's a fight, just like it is here. When a girl gets pregnant in high school, there's a lot of pressure to just drop out. And I am just so thankful that both of these girls have at least finished school. They can say, I have completed. And Vida's in cosmetology school now. So we pray that they keep growing as mothers and in the Lord, and we're grateful to be involved in their life. So I'm going to turn it over to Jared to talk about Pastor Zach, and then we'll wrap up and talk about how you can keep being involved in our ministry work.
I just try to keep up. You can tell, right? Slide. You hear Anna's doing a lot, right? My calling to Ghana is different. What God has asked me to do more than anything else is to help supply funds to ministries that are there. So we went to work on businesses, and we are trading. I've got a group of guys I work with. We trade a little bit of rice and spaghetti sauce, and we send down grain, and we kind of get to put different deals together. I'm waiting to hear back right now. We should be getting a deal. We're getting a deal put together to work with the South Korean firm that is running a recycling center. So we're helping with the real estate on that and some different things like that. What that allows me to do is I work with 2 church planters. We support one of them completely, and by the end of the year, we'll be able to support all that work from profits from the business. And more and more, we'll be able to support what Anna's doing as well as we build that business. This is Zach. He's been working as a church planter quite a while. His specialty is in training pastors to do things. So we are helping him to build 3 church buildings this year. He has started churches in 3 or 4 different communities. I work with another church planter who is really good at opening up communities. His name is Musa. And so he opens them up. Zach is able to train pastors, plant a church, and that's how some of this is really starting to come together really well. And you heard a little bit about how some of that's working together. The boys that Zach is working with. He's even had more come to him after this. That group keeps growing of young men. So it's a neat deal. And I could spend almost as long talking as Anna could, but I'm not going to, about cool things that I see happening. But God is really good. Here's what I wanted, as Anna was talking, here's what I wanted you to hear more than anything. Our getting into ministry has followed a lot of where I could go as a preacher. And Anna's been really faithful to just kind of hold on to the things that came, not knowing if we'd ever really get to go. And I went to Burkina Faso, and we were ready to go, at least get there, and then I got sick and wound up with you all, right? I guess cerebral malaria was good in some ways, right? Made it here. And going back to what Zerubbabel says here, what Zephaniah said to Zerubbabel back in chapter 4, it says this, "Then the word of the Lord came to me," remember what I've said, "the hands of Zerubbabel has laid the foundations, his hands will also complete it. Then you will know that the Lord Almighty has sent you." Verse 10 says this, "Who despises the day of small things?" I don't know about you, but me, you know me, right? You all know me. I tend to think about big stuff and bigger things to go do. But it's these small things that really build big dreams. And what you've just heard are about the small things and how the Lord wants to do it. Before this, in verse 4, where is it? No, verse 6. He's talking with Zechariah, the Lord, as he said, and the Lord said to me, "This is the word of the Lord to Zerubbabel. It's not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord Almighty." That's what God is doing. And I want to come back, and you've heard a lot about what we get to do in ministry, but I want to come back to what is that thing God's given you? What is that cornerstone? What is the thing that God's wanting to birth in you? You hear, this is part of what you all believing in us. That's part of the cornerstone as we get to do ministry together. But I know it's also a personal thing, and I don't want you to lose that. Small steps. Be faithful with that, and God will birth amazing things. Same thing as with Zach. Zach, I could tell you stories all day long about him, how he's come to the Lord. He left a Muslim family. He's gone to Mali, all kinds of crazy things that have happened to him. But again, it's these small things that God has put together to make work. So I'm going to give it back to Anna, let her do that, and I think we have a song, and then I will wrap up here a little bit. Is that right? Okay.
Okay, we're almost finished.
Yeah.
Coming up. Well, it will come. So, okay, here we go. So these are some of the things that Pastor Zach has done that we've talked about. He does dentistry. Right now, at least once, maybe twice a week, he has a dentistry outreach at his house, and people come. You really are only getting teeth pulled if you have a dental problem in Ghana. We don't have teeth cleaning. We don't do root canals. We just pull teeth. Samuel even got to have a teeth pulled out at Pastor Zach's one day. So I want to talk to you, though, about things that you can get involved in as individuals, as a church. Most projects are too big for any one person or one church to do alone. But if something gets your attention, if God tugs at you to get involved some way, do it. It may not even be through our ministry. If he's tugging at your heart to do something here, do it. He will bless it. Book donations, we're still taking donations of books. We currently have about 11 barrels full, and we're hoping to send almost 20. We're going to build library boxes, which are going to be about 4 feet by 4 feet, and donate those to all 9 of our reading club schools this year. And so we've got to have books to fill all those boxes. So we're taking book donations. You could do a fundraising event for our scholarship program for bright students to help keep them in school. Like I said, we're building a school for the Agape Christian School that I showed you pictures about. You could come to Ghana and visit us. We'd love to have all of you come and take a tour of Ghana and experience life there with the Odle children. Here's a few of the kids out in our reading club community. We've been driving our 10-passenger van out to our reading club schools, and it takes, our road's about 10 miles long, and it takes about an hour to get from one end to the other. That's how bad the road is. So we're hoping to get a pickup truck before too long, because the van is not the most suitable vehicle for those roads. We spend about $15,000 a year supporting reading clubs. That's in giving gifts to schools and students, and our travel expenses to get out and work with them. We had a school ask for classroom furniture. They have a brand new building and no desk or table, nothing. The kids just sit on the floor. So we'd like to raise about $2,000 to help them build tables and chairs for their kids. We still have an Amazon wish list under Developing Kids Ghana. You can go there and buy something for the library, and we will send it over. We do all sorts of hands-on activities with the kids. This first picture on the right, those are actually our special needs kids. The school next to us has about 10 kids who they classify as special needs. I don't know that any of them would actually be diagnosed as special needs. I think they are just profoundly behind their peers. And so they need a lot of extra one-on-one work. And then the other group are our first graders. That's Lukuman right in the front, the little guy who was a malnourished boy. And they're learning colors. In first grade, we're still learning colors and how to count. So they're behind, but they absolutely love all the interaction that we have at the library. New or gently used computers. If you have a laptop or you know somebody who's getting a new one, we would love to take your old one and use it in the computer lab. We still have to build the furniture, the tables and chairs and things like that to get the computer lab all set up. But we've got a tech person in North Carolina. He works at a school there, and he said, I want to come help like wire everything together and set it up. So we're going to meet him later this summer and talk about how to make that dream of his a reality. And it's just neat to see how God brings people from all different places to help support these things. Our football club, we need to start supporting them a little bit every month. There's about 10 people on the management team who have been giving out of their own pocket every month to help pay. We feed the boys on the day of their match, otherwise they'll come to a match on an empty stomach and they don't have the energy to really play. And we have to pay to transport them, we have to pay officiating fees. And prices in Ghana have doubled just like they have here. Food prices, fuel prices, and our management team is hurting. These are people who live hand to mouth every day anyway. Moses is the only employed person in his extended family, so he takes care of all of them. And there's about 30 people in the house. So it's a big deal that they have supported the club for as long and as well as they have, but we want to come along and help them a little bit. And then sports equipment. If you have connections to someone who plays soccer, we would love to have donated jerseys, old jerseys our boys would see as new, and they would just be tickled pink to get a new jersey or a pair of shorts. Cleats, a lot of times we have to buy cleats for the boys because they can't afford them, and that keeps them from being able to play. We had one of our last games, I noticed one of our boys had 2 different colored shoes because I'm sure one pair got worn out and he still had, I don't know what happened, but if you have connections to people who play soccer, we would love to get old equipment. This young man in the red shirt is one of our football players and one of our boys. His name is Solomon. And he also lives in one of my reading club communities. So it's neat how this all sort of came together. He just finished junior high school. He's 23 years old. And we just enrolled him in senior high school. And he just turned 24. And he said, Mom, my family will not help me pay for school. They think it's a waste of time because I'm too old. He said, but they don't know my plan. I'm going to keep moving forward. And I said, you know what? I support you. 24? Who cares? Go back to school. Get your education so that you can really do something. And so this is his father, who he wanted me to come and meet. He has diabetes, and they aren't able to treat it with anything, so he's just kind of wasting away. But this is, I don't know, daily interactions that we have with young men and women who really have a desire to move forward in life. Solomon will call both Jared and I up with these deeply spiritual questions. And we have a lot of good conversations with him as he's really searching for truth and things. Next summer, we're putting together a trip for reading teachers specifically. We would like to have 3 to 5 reading specialists come to Ghana to train our reading club teachers how to teach reading and just creative ideas around teaching reading. So we're trying to put a trip together. If you know of somebody who would be interested, or if you would be interested, we'd love to chat about it. It'll probably be about a 2-week trip, and we'll do programs in the reading club schools and in the library. And it's going to be it's the first time we've done this, so we're kind of excited. We're going to see how it works. And then you can't really see our emails, but it's on your little yellow card. These are ways you can keep up with us. So this picture is our children, and the 3 girls in the middle are Moses's children. These are Abby's sisters. They're really good friends, and in Ghana, when you're close to people, you don't say my friend, you call them your sister. So these are Abby's sisters, and they were all making faces at me. So thank you so much for your support and your love and your prayers over the last 6 years that we've been in Ghana. You are always on our mind and in our heart. I can't tell you how many jokes we still tell in Ghana about John and his Rice Krispies, and Levon and Linda making fun of our boys, calling them girls and all sorts of stuff. And we love you all so much. And I know that our time together for those 3 short years was a blessing, but it's really continued. It's really continued for us, and I'm sure for you also. So I'm going to give it back to Jared or whoever's closing song.